We got really thrown off. Appreciate y'all waiting. I'm sorry we delayed, but we were on the Senate floor a lot longer than we thought we were going to be today. And we'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Commissioner Cheney, thank you so much for being here. We're going to let you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. Most of us are familiar with our budget, and I'm going to hit the ground running without doing all the preliminaries. We're requesting an increase over 23. That's very small, actually, and I'm going to go down line item by line item. And the major points that you want to look at, we've got some personnel issues that we left a lot of PIN numbers vacant simply so we can meet the budgets that we had in 2020, 21, and 22, and then 19 also. So we've got to fill some of those PINs. That includes PINs at the Fire Marshal's Division and also PINs at the department with the IT department. I did appear before the Personnel Board this morning on the issue with the IT boards. And I know that some of the LBO folks listen to me, but that's an issue for us, Mr. Chairman, that will affect not only our agency, but just about all the agencies trying to find qualified people on IT. So we've asked for a very little increase in travel. That's been a level deal for about a decade now. Contractual were up. You're well aware that we cut some of our contract needs by doing more of our actual work in-house. Simply because of budget constraints. Our commodities are up a little bit, and we're asking for an increase in commodities. Not a big deal, but most of the commodities, if you look at the explanation sheet on the third page, it will give you an explanation not only of just salaries and travel, but on contracts and commodities. But this increase is very small. It's strictly due to the rising cost of fuel and numerous charges for tires and parts that you have to have for your automobiles. I will talk very briefly about automobiles as we get down on the line, but on equipment, we're looking for a purchase of a new travel trailer, which we've got to have for our Fire Marshal Division for issues that we do on training and et cetera. On vehicles, we're requesting 12 vehicles. We've got $100,000 this year. We've been unable to find vehicles where we could expend those dollars. We have brought a former deputy commissioner, not commissioner, but fire marshal back on board on contract for a couple of months, Keith Montgomery, which most of you know, to try to fix that problem with vehicles. And I was informed this morning that he thinks he's found 3, which is almost impossible to do today when it takes a year to get a vehicle. So let's talk about vehicles. Most of our vehicles consist of law enforcement vehicles. We've got one Impala at the Department of Insurance. It's a 2010. We do not let it get more than 30 miles from Jackson. And we have an Expedition that we've had since 2010, and we drive it as frequently as we can because when we need a vehicle, that's the one we try to use. We've got 25 vehicles with over 120,000 miles at the present time, and they've been recommended to be replaced by DFA. We've got 7 vehicles with over 200,000 miles and 11 vehicles that are more than 10 years old, and I've just mentioned 2 of them. So we're seeking to purchase a total of 12 vehicles in 2024 if we can find them, and we're starting to look for them and try to get an order in place if we can figure out if we're going to get the appropriation. So 11 of them will be replacements and 1 will be a replacement vehicle for elevator inspectors. And that's basically it. Mr. Chairman, I would say that if the legislature gives us more work to do within our mission statement, then we may have to ask for a little bit of increase on appropriation for salaries. And I'm talking specifically about some of the bills that affect healthcare on utilization review and whether or not it comes to our department or the Department of Health. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'd like to elaborate on something you mentioned on travel. I can personally vouch for, I know your travel budget includes law enforcement, fire marshals, investigating inspectors, but the employees that you're sending to the various conferences that we members of the legislature attend where we mold legislation, they work hard. They are very instrumental in working with us on crafting many of the bills that we passed last year, like telemedicine, and some bills we're working on this year, the conference in New Orleans, where we're all able to work together on pet insurance bill and also on our gold card, our authorization. And they're not out there to party. They work very hard in all the meetings and we enjoy working with them.
Mr. Chairman, you're aware that we start, when we have those meetings, we start at 7 in the morning. We usually end at 7 at night. By the time you get something to eat, you're in bed, but 9 o'clock starting all over again. So
I've personally seen one of your staff members meeting like at 7:30 at night on issues.
yes.
Well, thank you. Okay, members of the committee, any questions on maybe the vehicle situation?
I do have one, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So the permanent, full-time permanent positions down here, we're looking at a reduction of 17. You have anything to say on that, on this sheet that we received?
Yeah, on that particular sheet, but
Unfilled pins?
those are unfilled pins, and we usually work through all of that, Senator. It's and the LBO has to do what they have to do to say that we're not going to fill them, and we have to come back in and justify them, which we do. And we'll do that during the appropriation process. And I did not bring up fire trucks. That's usually a different issue, but we got the same problem of finding fire trucks and buying them at the right price before the increase starts up. And we have told most of the counties that need trucks to go ahead and order them, and we've committed the money to them because we kind of know what the funding status is. So that in turn saves us probably $40,000 to $80,000 a truck. That's a lot of money when you're talking about 20 or 30 trucks a year.
Okay, we know you have another appointment. Oh, Senator Hobson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you, sir.
Since the question came about fire trucks, one of the issues that has been brought to my attention is, we did the rounds and we did the better match rate for the smaller counties last year, which I hope is going to be helpful for them. I think it will be. One complaint I get from some of my colleagues is that their county, they want a particular fire truck in a particular place. Do you have any explanation as to the fact that if these counties, if they need it in this place, why the counties aren't putting a fire truck in that particular place?
Well, Mr. Chairman, most of that's due to the fact that some counties are still operating on the beach system instead of the unit system. And we caution the supervisors, we have to work with them to be certain that you put trucks where they're needed based upon the State Rating Bureau's recommendation. And we have some problems, and I will tell you, Lee County is a good example. We've got Richmond, a little community in Lee County that needs a truck bad. Theirs was hit on the side of the road and destroyed. They do have a truck now, and we kind of committed to the supervisors would help them out after this next fiscal year, but they lost the truck. And since they were so high in the rounds that they'd gotten trucks in, they weren't eligible for any of the special funds that y'all were so kind to help us with last year. So it's been it's been an issue that we're very aware of it.
How many counties? I mean, that's my answer too, is it seems like that's a county issue more than it is an insurance issue or
it's a county issue. It's not an insurance issue.
How many counties do you think we're dealing with that are just,
From what I
best way I
understand,
can put it is they're just neglecting.
it would be strictly a guess on my part, but I would tell you it's probably close to 30 counties that we have trouble with. Let me give you an example. A county close to yours is Issaquena and Sharkey County. Issaquena County and Cary needs a truck and a building really bad, and I can't move funds or allow them to use the fire rebate monies without proper authorization. So we've got some dollars that y'all were kind enough to let us work with last year that we're looking to see how we can appropriate it. We will probably be coming back to help you, but the bottom line for Cary is if they don't have a place for a truck or building, then their insurance rates in that little city, it's a small city, as you're well aware, will probably go up to a class 10. And class 10 means their insurance rates double. So we're working with the mayor there. We've got the same problem all through the Delta.
Can you bring up an interesting point? Is there any prohibition in our laws? I don't know if there is. Maybe staff will have to answer that the counties couldn't collaborate on that. For instance, Cary and Issaquena, you could have one that's a shared between Cary and Valley Park more readily and easily than you could between, Myersville and Valley Park or Cary and Rolling Fork.
We do that now. We work through the fire coordinators in each county to share resources where we need them. As an example, down in Senator LaBar's area, he needed a truck. We got somebody that loaned him one. Same thing we did at Richmond, actually in Lee County. And just as a matter of information, when the city of Jackson was without water, and the water lines were broken. Insurance companies were jittery about the fact they had no water to put fires out. And if y'all remember, there were a rash of fires right after the line started breaking. We got a coalition together, didn't take us but a couple of hours to work it out, where we got volunteers to share the resources that we had with tankers and all the other counties around, and I'm talking about Rankin and Madison, to quietly help Jackson if they got into trouble with bringing water in. And we do that around all the state, not just in Jackson, but Jackson's a good example of how we cooperate. But it doesn't always work, Senator, as you well know. Sometimes we got.
I look forward to working with you to see if we
Thank
can
you,
figure out
sir.
how to get these counties that need to be putting fire trucks in certain areas, them to do that, rather than it having to be done piecemeal here. Trying to see if we can get the counties to do what I think they should be doing to get them to the places where you determine they're needed the most.
So we put out about 30 trucks a year at the most that we can put out. We got 1,000 stations, need for 1,000 trucks, you might say, not 1,000 stations, but we got a lot of them. And if you just look at the replacement side, every 20 years, it takes you 20 years to even think about getting a decent truck to replace one that's 20 years old. So we've extended the life. We're doing a lot of things to help these counties out, Senator. Appreciate your question.
One other question on that, since fire trucks are very important, the diversion that we put in the wind pool bill, what is that? Refresh our memory on what that's expected to provide for rural fire truck program.
It provides close to $6 million to the fire program, the total fire program, but we're using about 2.7 million. We've caught up on most of the issues, and we got about 2.7 to $3 million we use for trucks. The balance of it, we put some of that money into the cancer fund. I think Deputy Commissioner Hare told me this morning, he's to my right, by the way, y'all know who these people are. He's my right hand. I can't operate without him, but he said we've got about 500,000. Is that right? In the cancer fund. And to put that in perspective as to what y'all did to help us, we probably saved the state $6 million a year on premium, just from that little bit of money that we put out.
By doing a statewide.
Doing a statewide program.
Counties have to get their own.
We did a trust fund, and now the House has got a bill to move it over to the AG. I can't figure all that out, but we'll work through that.
All right. Well, thank you for your
Thank you,
time
sir.
this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Both of, all three of you for being here. Thank you. We're going to go now to the Employment Security Commission, please. Guy Morton and Robin Stewart. Did we cancel the afternoon? Great. That's when I took the paper this morning. Those were bedded down. Literally at our front door. Children down there, don't want them. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry we ran late. I give everybody that comes up an apology, but we were held on the Senate floor for a while this morning, and we appreciate you being with us. This is your second year, I believe, in charge. I remember great presentation you gave last year. Thank you very much. Please turn your microphone on so the YouTube channel, like people that are watching can hear us. We've got one committee member, I think, listening in his car as he's driving. Thank you.
We appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'll turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Guy Martin, to kind of give you an overview of our budget, and I'll take any questions after that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving MDS an opportunity to discuss the request for 2024. Hopefully you got the handout. I think Charlie was given handout. So if you can take a look at the handout, you can see MDS's original request in July was for the same amount of money that was approved in the 2023 budget request. The elbow recommendation agreed with all line items except for salaries and fringe benefits. The difference in the revised MD request and the elbow recommendation is a little over 9.7 million. And so I want to discuss what that difference is. The difference consists of a 3% raise for all employees. It also includes a salary increase for our frontline staff and the WIN job centers around the state supporting Mississippians looking for jobs or needing help filing for unemployment benefits. MDS is also requesting to keep the same number of positions approved in the 2023 budget of 614. We're in the process of hiring over 70 people. The changes with SEC Squared has created challenges for MDS in retaining staff. And I also want to point out that MDS is the financial agent for Accelerate Mississippi, and this request also includes positions to support their operation. So ultimately, MDS's request is we're asking for $167,336,980. This request includes 1.4 million of SLDS general funds that flow through MDS. It also includes 15 million of Mississippi Works and 3 million for SWIB. Of course, those two are Accelerate Mississippi's funding currently. And I would also want to point out any particular funding that Accelerate would get in this legislative session that MDS would be the financial agent of, that our budget would be increased to reflect that. We're asking to approve the same 614 positions from last year. We also are asking, we've been trying, just like the Commissioner of Insurance, Mr. Cheney just mentioned, we're trying to get agency vehicles that meet the DFA replacement criteria for the past 2 or 3 years. And ever since COVID, we haven't been able to find vehicles. So we're hoping that maybe this year that'll turn around where we can get a few. Grant lump sum appropriation. And in closing, I just want to point out that MDS is a special fund agency. It's not supported by the general funds. And MDS is supported by federal funds from the Department of Labor with no state match requirement. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to you for any questions you're
Been able to catch your breath after all the COVID rush on unemployment benefits?
It's moved to the appeals department, so
That's
you know,
right.
it moves from benefits to appeals. So we have the COVID crisis in the appeals department right now, so.
Goodness, okay. Members of the committee? It's nice when it's all federal funds, and
That's what we were hoping. That's
all,
We're sometimes thankful for that.
yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for the work y'all do. What is our unemployment rate in the state right now? What's,
Oh my goodness, I don't have it with me. It's low. It's very low. So you just sent it to me this morning. We just had to get the new numbers, the claims numbers.
Below 4? Below 4%?
It is below 4%.
And what are the stipulations? Is that people that are actively pursuing employment? Is that?
Absolutely. You must be able and available to work. And so we have an aggressive able and available to work policy. We've enhanced that in the last year to require those people that are receiving benefits to go to job fairs as part of their benefit package. So if you want your benefits, you must go to job fairs in your area, and we do track and maintain that information.
Wonderful.
So we'll be able to provide some outcomes on that very soon to see how well that's going.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. That's real good. Wonderful. Here for a short time, you don't like me? I love you, buddy. Smell bad. Fire Academy, please. Barry, how about it, friend? All right. I had Paul Ammerman down as well. Is Paul Ammerman here with you? Oh, that's Paul here. Okay. Yes, sir. All right. Joseph's son, right? You're Joseph's son, aren't you? I am. Okay, I remember. That's right. All right. All right, this is Terry Wages and Paul Ammerman with the Fire Academy. We appreciate y'all being here this morning. No, it's not on if it's red. You got to get the green light. They're temperamental.
goes.
you
There
go.
goes.
Thank you.
That's better.
Very temperamental.
Okay. All right, everybody got a copy of our budget request, and I'll get right into the details of it. And as you can tell, under each line that we have requests for, there's a detailed explanation, justification that we can take questions on that, most certainly. But most of all, I want to start out by saying thank you all for us being here, allowing us to be here today. But I want to talk about mainly our salaries and fringes at the beginning. And I know you guys are hearing a lot of this with the market value and the SEC Square program that went on last year. We made a move last year through appropriations that we had through legislation to start that process of moving our staff members to the market value at the agency. As of today, we've made about a move on that last year. It has about 20% of our staff at market value. We're still have several members that are anywhere from 25% down to 0.5% from being at market. Paul done an average on it, was at 11% agency-wide, bringing everybody to market. So the numbers you see in our budget request, there is a increase over JLBC recommendation of $743,000. That number has the funding in that request to move again to bringing those members that are not at market toward that market value. Also, it allows us to meet the need to staff the increase we had this year up to satisfy those salary increases we have with our staff this year. And we did an increase not to exceed 10% across the board. It varied depending on position this past year that brought some of our staff members to market, but not all. So that number is in there, as well as the addition of 2 instructors. And the reasoning for that is you're going to hear me talk about it as we go through a little bit more, is we're adding 50,000 square feet of training space to the academy that'll be open middle of next month. That we're going to add approximately 20 new courses to the fire academy. Currently, our roster is full for the entire year with about 350 students holding for classes. As soon as the dorm beds are available, we'll be able to fill those classes and have those. So that is in that salaries and fringe. And those are the main points I wanted to make into that. Moving to contractual services, we have an increase over JLBC recommendation of 100,017 or 100,017. I'll get it right. You'll see it, right? Okay. Anyway, that is to help with our contractual services for the janitorial, housekeeping, and food services that we contract to also help facilitate the new project that's opening this year. The next item is commodities. Now, you're here, I guess, on most of your budget request meetings. Commodities is hitting us a lick at the Fire Academy because we buy so many resources out there with books and fuel and food and everything we have to maintain operations that we see an increase over JLBC recommendation, $217,000. Now, our fuel surcharge, fuel right now, we're paying between $5.65 and $5.85 per gallon for training fuel. We have to use that fuel to keep from burning up our props we have out there. It's a specially blended fuel. So we had last year we had an increase of what, 180, Paul?
187.
This year we believe 140, which is included in that number, will cover our fuel surcharge costs. Moving down to other equipment, we're requesting 250,000. Now this one is to facilitate the completion of 8 additional dorm rooms that was not budgeted in the original bid. And what we did was, is Commissioner Cheney and myself went back and looked, and we see an opportunity to add 8 additional rooms, foundation, shell, roof, exterior walls within our budget. However, we cannot complete those. We only have the shells. When I say completion, floor covering, carpet, fixtures, so forth. In this 250 is to cover that, as well as additional F&E for that dorm project. Now, the dorm project was, as you remember, we was allocated $12 million for it. It hit right when we hit COVID. We've seen a tremendous increase in cost on that project, as well as delay because of supply chain shortage and labor problems. That's hit us bad. That's the reason the projects went on for 2 years. BOB has done a really good job at managing that, but it has been a challenge. The outlay for equipment, this is a real simple request on the increase over JLBC is an increase of 50,000 to buy a backhoe. It's probably the most used piece of equipment other than the fire trucks we have out there. We do our own maintenance on all the infrastructure, sewer, water lines. We're self-sustaining out there, so there's a lot of digging goes on. Our current backhoe is 29 years old. We're spending anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a year out of our equipment fund to keep it up. New hydraulic cylinders and so forth. And then lastly is Mr. Ammerman is writing a grant this year to replace all the fleet non-emergency vehicles for the fire academy, which is anywhere from 10 to 12 vehicles. We are very excited about that. They've been 4 for 4 on grants so far in the last 4 years. So we feel like that we have a good chance of getting this grant. This increase is over the JLBC recommendation in addition to our budget of $75,000 to match that grant. Bottom line is JLBC recommendation is on the first page, 5.324. Academy request is 6.778. I know I went through that pretty quick, so yeah.
Explain for the subcommittee the remuneration and how it works from municipalities when you train.
Yes, as you know, the insurance rate hinges largely on what we do. So because of the requirements of training needed for our firefighters. So to facilitate that, we're constantly having to put on these what we call recruit classes and entry-level firefighter classes. Right now, we're training anywhere from 250 to 350 a year in field deliveries and campus courses in that. We're not meeting the need. It's not because we're seeing a huge retirement of firefighters. It's because firefighters are changing professions now. It's something we didn't deal with years ago. So constantly, we tested 390 this year for entry-level firefighter. So we put on 6 recruits out there per year, about 35 students per recruit class. We're probably going to increase that to 8 to 10, as well as probably 10 field deliveries that we do. Now, the size of the fire academy staggers some people, but we're the size of a community college. We offer 75 on-campus hybrid courses and 45 field delivery courses statewide. So we're training a tremendous amount of responders, and we're also offering a large amount of courses out there for these responders. So the career development path for firefighters is extensive, and it usually takes anywhere from 6 to 8 years to accomplish that, depending on their motivation. So we see the students cycling through constantly out there as they tier up through the officer positions. And again, I want to reiterate the addition out there. It makes it the largest fire academy as far as what we teach and under roof in the country. So we're a standalone agency that in the state, unlike some states that have many fire academies, this one facilitates the whole state. So it's very important that we are able to recruit. And we get back to that SEC program and retention and recruitment of our staff members. Right now, just to give you an idea, you have to have a bachelor's degree or 7 years of active firefighter experience to come to work out there. In that world of the fire department, that person at that level has already reached a lieutenant or captain spot. They're typically making anywhere from $48,000 to $60,000 in the state at that. So we're having to compete because that's where we pull our staff from in the training field. So we're now our entry level, with the help of you guys, we were able to get that up to 52,000 for staff members starting out there right now. We want to be able to sustain that if possible. Any other questions?
Dr. McCon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been out there and I've seen the work you do. I do have one quick question. On your vehicle request at 75,000, you said there's a grant program. Are you asking for that to help match? Are you asking that for some special funds? Do you need something different there? Tell me what we're doing with that 75.
Right now, I'm going to let Paul speak to that. He's our grant super on that. So
Yes, sir. the grant that we're actually applying for is the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program. It's a grant program that's conducted through FEMA. They allot $500,000 to training facilities. That's the max that we can get. And then there is a 5 to 15% match depending on the size of the state. We qualify for 15% match, so it's $75,000, just the matching amount.
And you're not making any special funds requests there. That's just, you want 75, just handle that.
It would be a one-time expense
Yeah.
for just to match that grant once we're able.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, thank you so much, Terry. Mr.
Thank you.
Hammerman. Appreciate you being with us today. All right, Miss Sandy, are you ready for us? Tax Appeals Board. Here, is it your pen? It fell off my cap. It's somewhere between that way. Brought Miss Martin with you too? I know her as Miss Martin. Susan Martin, and when I taught her life saving in 1980.
Oh.
You brought a representative with you too for extra help, huh? Enjoyed serving with you. Okay. Get what you needed?
I'm sorry. Thank you. Can't see anymore.
Okay, Miss Andy, would
Okay,
you
yes.
have
Well,
before, and I'll apologize for y'all, just like I did for everybody else that we ran late. Thank you for hanging with us, but we actually made up some good time, didn't we?
Yes, y'all doing great.
Okay.
So, my name is Krista Andy, and I'm Executive Director of the Board of Tax Appeals. And, most of you know, but just in case, this is Sarah Fox that's with me, and she's the chairman of our board. And then, Will Green Poindexter is an associate member of our board. And, I'm seeing familiar faces because we've been here over the past few years, but for some that may want a refresher or just some that may not know who we are, I thought if you want to allow me, I can tell you just a little bit about who we are, maybe those that would like that, or I can plug on through.
Plug on through.
Okay, so I guess we have been before all of you for the past several years, and we've been coming, asking to be funded to just be able to operate. And so last year, with the appropriation that you gave us, we were thrilled, and you were allowed us to be able to do that. So the first thing is thank you very much. And that appropriation was $638,699, and it did help us to accomplish that, long-term goal that we've had. So since we've done that, or y'all have helped us do that, you may be wondering, well, then why are you here now? So I'm hoping that I'm going to explain just a little bit about now what we're asking for, what we need. So within just a few weeks at the start of our fiscal year, we were informed that the legislature would no longer allow us to move money from our salary line down to our contractual line to help pay expenses. And I'm hoping, I'm going to try to explain why that issue is unique to a small agency like us. So prior to this fiscal year, I'll just give you a brief, just a little bit about us. We have 6 employee positions. So we have 3 members that are appointed by the governor. We have an executive director. We have 1 attorney position, and we have an appeals officer. So prior to this fiscal year, the salary for that 1 attorney position was set under the old system at $42,282. And so we were not able to hire a full-time attorney for that salary. So what we were able to do is we went and we hired a contract attorney, part-time basis. And we were able to use, take salary funds, and move down to expenses, not moving expense money into salary, but just salary money into expenses. And we were able to use that to hire Julie. And she is phenomenal. She's been, better than expected. She's an asset. So we're thrilled to have her. So after we got our appropriation for this fiscal year, we made hiring decisions based on those long-term practices that we have, been able to do over the prior years. So we wanted to keep Julie, and we were able to also find another who has turned out to be an exceptional attorney that also would work part-time. Now, she is considered an employee, not contract, so how we pay her is through the salary line. And, she's just exceptional too. So I guess we're here to say we want to keep our 2 part-time attorneys. And I guess after, when we realized that we were going to be in that situation of not being able to move our salary money into the expense or contractual line, to use some of that money to pay our contract worker, we were able to get, a special provision granted that allowed us, after the fiscal year had started, to move a certain amount, out of the salary to the contract. And so we appreciate that, but we really want to keep our two people. And, I guess the 2 people that we have right now, Julie is our contract worker. She has 25 years of experience. She's worked for the Supreme Court. She's worked for the Attorney General's office. She is an exceptional writer and researcher. She's great at what she does, and she's exactly what she needs, and she's exceptional. And so, hoping to find somebody that was just as good as her. And we found Adrian, who is actually, she's a CPA. She has her law degree. She has her LLM from the University of Florida, which is, one of the, one of the two elite tax programs that's in our nation. And they're working for us. And Adrian, I expected her to be great, but she's better than I could have imagined. And I really feel like that, we have created, y'all created this board to be separate and apart from the Department of Revenue. We used to be, or, there used to be the full commission, which that's no longer. They do still have the board of review. So taxpayers, if they want to appeal, they certainly go to the board of review, which is under the Department of Revenue first. But if they're still not pleased, they have the opportunity to come and appeal to our board. And y'all did that. Y'all created that. And I think that it's worked exactly how you wanted it to. I think that we've been in existence since 2010. And I think, the department, the ones that we have a great relationship with them. We have wonderful relationships with attorneys, accountants that come before us regularly with different clients. And I think that we are doing a great service for the taxpayers and the state. And I'm proud of us. I'm proud of what we do. I'm proud that y'all put this here. And all of you here, I feel like of course, I knew some of you personally anyway before this, but we've come over the years, asking for different things, and Corbin's helped us in a different arm before, and it's nice to see familiar faces. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable coming before you. But I guess we want to continue to do what we think is the great job we're doing. And the people that we have working with us now, we feel like we're doing that. So I guess bottom line is we want to be able to keep doing what we were doing in the past. And that is to be able, as we need, to just move from salary down to expenses. We're not asking to move money back up into salary. That was never allowed. But for a small agency like us, if we get into a predicament, we can't function. So that's that side. When you look down, on your handout, I think there were a few like increases we're asking for, it really probably looks like more than what we're really asking. But under the salary line, I may just look at this, maybe easier than my sheet. The first two lines under the salary is really just statewide across agencies, but we went ahead and put that in here just because every little bit matters to us. So there was an increase for health and life insurance premiums that the agency part has, and that's what is, what we think is our portion. And then in the event that the agencies do incur the extra expense for retirement, which I think they're saying may become effective in October, that is what that would be, which is really our greatest expense that we're asking for, which I know that if all agencies get that, we would too. Then the other thing under salary is the recommended budget amount for under the salary item is about 3,000 less than what you actually appropriated for us this fiscal year. So we're just asking for that to be bumped back up to where we are now. And then we have the increase in mileage for travel, not using Trip Optimizer anymore. We have a couple of board members that do travel for our hearings. And so that's that $1,000 increase. And then the other things are our legal research has increased, and also we rent a multi-purpose copy machine. And I mean, 355, but it matters. So those are the increases right there. And then the main, reason we're here is for the topic I discussed. The topic I discussed at the beginning.
Did you move those funds from the contractual? Is that what you? use
We
contractual funds for
actually,
employment?
we actually moved it from the salary down to the contractual so that we could pay our contract attorney.
Chairman? Okay. Okay. Done?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You did such a wonderful job. We don't have any additional questions. We sure thank you.
Fabulous.
Thank you for
Well,
the
I
work you
do.
do.
I thank you all so very much for all you do. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Shumpert.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Will Green.
First 3 or 4 years.
Thank you. All right. Thanks so much. We stand adjourned. We're going to reschedule all of those.
I'm not gonna touch any of it.
figure in